That's what we're talking about, right?
Right. So either something
happened to us.
Yeah, something either happened to you with these tornadoes, or there's
Tesla. We were worried.
We were about the Tesla because there were accidents with Tesla cars.
We almost.
You know how your mind goes rampant. You know?
Yeah, I do know that.
But I'm so happy you're alive and kicking and ready to go.
Like I tell my kids, it's going to be harder than that to get rid of me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so glad that you came, and I was thought that you, if it's okay, because I talked to Diana about it a little bit, maybe you can tell your story a little bit, because there's a life lesson behind it.
Okay.
So let me just introduce to the people that are going to watch or on the replay. So we have Beverly from BAMA. Your channel's name is still BAMA Blind, is that right?
BAMA
Blind. Not BAMA. Yeah, BAMA Blind.
Yeah, good.
Because you're from Alabama, right?
That's right. And our football team is nicknamed BAMA. And we've always been national champions over the last 30 years. So
very good football team.
Yeah, Paul has explained this several times in other videos. But thank you for asking again.
And then our co-host, as usual, Paul's from Paul's Blind Soup for the Soul. And yes, I'm going to add Beverly's link down below in the description box. We already have every month. We have Paul's link down in the description box, and our sometimes person that joins us, Dalcecil Runo, but she couldn't join us today. So I will if during the stream, I'm going to see if I can try to, if not afterwards, add Beverly's channel link, BAMA Blind, down in the description box. And she's our special guest today. She's going to tell us her story about
mental illness.
Okay, mental illness. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Beverly.
And how it relates to the visually impaired.
You are welcome.
So please go ahead and start and tell us.
Why don't you first introduce yourself, Beverly?
Okay,
and then you have the floor.
Oh gosh, feel free to interrupt and ask questions. I just can't see your nonverbal, so butt right in, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am Beverly, and my channel is BAMA Blind, and I just hit 300 subscribers.
Congratulations.
I am thrilled about that, because I think I have a connection with almost every single one of them. So that really is why I'm doing YouTube. I do it as a hobby. I don't need or generate income from it. That would be wonderful if that happened, you know, early in my life, but I'm 63 now, and I have lived an entire life with a visual impairment. So my perspective is looking back on time, kind of, to see how a person gets through a lifetime and what are the struggles decade after decade with a progressive sight loss. So I've recently not uploaded for 4 months, and I've never really had a particular schedule. Again, you know, I'm sure there are algorithms and things like that that I have missed out on, but I just get in front of the camera and talk about different things that are real to people with visual impairments and how I perceive the world, you know, cognitively, emotionally, and physically. So recently I have interrupted my scheduled uploads or unscheduled uploads, and I gave no explanation, and I absolutely had to do some internal investigation and find out what is going on with me. I don't feel like myself. I know that everybody had a problem with dealing in a pandemic country where we couldn't, or world actually. Nobody's doing world travel. Nobody's doing state to state travel. You know, nobody's doing county to county travel where I am, or where we've been all year. And to add to that, I have a guide dog. It's my very first guide dog. So I was kind of late in life getting a guide dog at age 57. 59, I'm sorry, I gave myself 2 years. At 59, I got my first guide dog. And, I'm a cat person. So let me say that first, is this all leads into what's going on in my emotional brain, is that neither I nor my dog could get out on a regular basis and keep her skills up, and because we couldn't socialize. She's a social animal, and her job is to get me on and off, transit, in and out of cars, in and out of stores, going into restaurants, being with other people, going to gatherings. And that's her job. And, her job is not to lead me around my house. So I started feeling this, not a sense of doom, but a sense of dread, because I knew her skills were declining. I could see them week by week. Then after about 6 months into the really severe part of the pandemic, getting probably close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, where we just couldn't go out at all, I started realizing that I was isolated. Not only was I feeling bad for her, but now I'm thinking, okay, one day when we do get out of this, what am I going to do? Am I going to be able to use my guide dog? Am I going to be able to get back out into the world? Everybody, you look at social media and everybody's just, they're so excited for the turn of the calendar. Miraculously, January 1, 2021 was going to change everything. Absolutely.
We all had a lot of hope.
Yeah. And I knew, nothing was going to change just because the calendar changed. But I knew we were going to change. I had hope for that. I just couldn't see myself and how to reintegrate back into socialization when blindness itself creates a social isolation. Just if you have no dog or a cane, or if you're partially sighted and you need no aid or anything like that, I think I was more isolated as a visually impaired person without a device, because I wasn't recognized. It was a hidden disability. So I was even more isolated then, because I couldn't make eye contact still, but I couldn't see who I was talking to, and nobody knew that I couldn't see. So that was isolating itself. But back to 2021, when I got through January and I realized I wasn't feeling any more hopeful, the calendar turned and not help me. And I wasn't able to connect with people. There was something inside of me that said, I'm just kind of hanging out there on my own. I talked with some family members, and the person, it's really ironic. It's really ironic. I have 2 daughters, and they're both grown. And one of my daughters had this same issue back in the fall. Feelings of isolation, but she had a job and she was not able to go to her job. So her isolation was sitting at home by herself without the camaraderie of employment, working with coworkers and going to lunch and all the things that people do when they go to work. So she said, "Mama, I think I need to see a therapist." And I said, "That is awesome. Here's my daughter telling me this about herself." And I said, that's awesome. You need to do that. How did you recognize that? And she told me some of the things that she was feeling. And I said, that's great. She says, "I've actually found one and we can do it virtually." And I said, that is just super. That's super. So that means that just because you can't get in a car and go didn't mean that she couldn't seek help. And her feelings were isolation and depression. So when I got to thinking, well, gosh, if I've given her this information growing up that it's okay to reach out for help, then why can't I take that information from her and turn it back on myself? So what a novel idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did. So
it's kind of like reversed. It's kind of like what's good for the gander is good for the goose.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Paul. That's my farm girl, mantra.
Yeah.
We had geese.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's so true. But I was so confused. Now, I have to preface this too by saying my background is in counseling. I got a master's degree in counselor education. So you would think that I would already know this stuff and be able to recognize it and have nipped it in the bud. But that's not the case. And that's kind of what I want people to think, that no matter where you are in life, no matter what your educational level is or is not, depression doesn't bypass anyone, you know, that just because they're educated or just because they're not educated.
That's right.
It's very a life lesson in that is that, and I'm sure you figured this out, is that it's very hard to treat yourself.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know, other doctors that, you know, do surgeries, they can't do surgery on themselves.
That's exactly right, Paul.
But unfortunately, under the mental aspect of things, we kind of ignore that, and we need to pay more attention.
That's right. We sweep it under the rug and we don't want to talk about it because it's just like blindness that, you know, it's just like visual impairment. I shouldn't say blindness per se because people misunderstand that. But if you have a visual impairment and people don't know it, I know I, for a fact, didn't want to go and come out with it, tell anybody, hey, I can't see you. Yeah. When I could see to walk around and I could see to do all kinds of things. And why should I disclose that when it's just going to make me more different?
Right.
And that's how mental illness is. There's a stigma attached to it. So I also have a sister who's had major depressive disorder, and hers was very, very different than mine. And she's completely in recovery now. And I know what proper treatment does. I've just seen it because my sister is my absolute best friend and we share everything. So I knew how she felt in the middle of her depressive episodes because hers reoccurs. And I know now how competent she is. Now, she doesn't have a visual problem, but she certainly suffered through at least a year and a half of a complete major depressive disorder episode. So I knew that the woman I'm seeing now in her is another inspiration for me to say, okay, you know, I need to seek help for myself. And so I went to my regular doctor. That's where I started. I went to my regular doctor. And, you know, she says, is everything okay? And I finally said, no, it's not. You know, and I'm always, here's another issue I think that's really specific with, maybe it's just me, but I think with blindness. You want everybody to know you're okay. You know, we struggle so hard to tell people, look, we're okay, that we're not, you know, in the fetal position in the corner spitting bubbles.
Absolutely. But one thing I've noticed since I became legally blind,
yes,
is it's physically hard on you. It takes me to do tasks longer. I have to concentrate much harder, and with all that extra concentration and things taking tasks longer, I feel more exhausted.
Oh, ditto. Ditto, Paul. That is so on point.
And I'm kind of leading up to giving you a segue about your story, where some of this depression is taking over your energy, and responding to people maybe wouldn't be that difficult if you were sighted, but because you are totally blind and just have basically a blurriness, right?
Exactly. Right.
You have to respond and do things differently where it takes more energy, and you did not have that energy. Maybe you can tell us that little cute story that you told us.
Well, and
about your birthday.
Yes, it was bizarre to me because I was already feeling disconnected and I was getting afraid. I was really getting fearful because that is not me. My gifts, there's love languages. My thing that I offer people is encouragement and motivation and listening, because I listen. And I was finding that even during COVID, I had got together with my immediate family. So that's really my network. That's all I had. And even with them, I would find myself isolating and going to a different part of my house or their house and just kind of being by myself and not feeling a part of the group. And my birthday came along and my daughters they're just awesome. And they said, okay, what do you want? And they give me gifts, which they really shouldn't do, but we have a big feast. We come in and they cook and they're awesome cooks. And I said, I want a Thanksgiving dinner. Well, I sat at my place where I'm usually sitting with the 10 people around the table, and it's my house and everybody's talking and I'm not interacting. I just don't feel like I'm interacting. And so after we ate and they said, no, we're cleaning up the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. So I go to my other part of the house by myself, sit on the sofa, and I'm looking at Facebook, and I've got all of these Facebook well wishes, and everybody loves that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and also keep in mind that this is your favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. So when the family came and did Thanksgiving dinner, you were supposed to be feeling joy, and you weren't feeling that.
That's exactly right, because they said, what do you want? Not what can we all fix that we know how to do. They just said, the sky's the limit. You tell us what you want, and I turkey dressing. I wanted that. And so it was supposed to be my day, and anybody would feel my typical self is gratitude. I wake up in the morning feeling very grateful. And I was waking up in the morning feeling dreadful.
Yeah.
And that's just, oh my gosh. But that very day, I went into my living room. I sat on the sofa all by myself, and everybody's having a fun time, video games, and they're watching TV, and they're clearing the table and getting out dessert and blah, blah, blah. And and I'm sitting there looking at I'm looking at my Facebook account, and I've got like 200 well wishes. And I have always gone through each individual person and responded, not just a general thank you the next day, but I've interacted with each person. And I picked it up and I said, I can't do this. I can't respond to the very first person. And I just kind of burst into tears at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought, this really is a brick wall I've hit. Right at that point, my granddaughter, who's 15, walks in, and they call me BB. That's my grandmama name. So she said, BB, what's wrong? And I said, oh, her name's Elizabeth. I said, Elizabeth, I'm just not feeling like I can connect. I said, do you see me sitting in here by myself? She said, yeah, that's not like you. And I said, and I can't, I've got all these people that I need to say something to, that I want to say something to. I want to connect with these people because I can't see them in person. She said, well, here, let me help. And she pulled the thing out of my hand and she turned off voiceover, Diana. We were just talking about because visual people cannot navigate, the voiceover very easily at all. No. Or my people can't. So Elizabeth turned off voiceover, and then she began to read one by one, each person, what they had said. And she said, now, what would you like to say back to them? And I dictated it. We got through, I guarantee it was more than 200 responses. Wow. With exactly what I wanted to say. And she put in little hearts and things, she was saying, yeah, let's put this in. And I said, Elizabeth, that was the best birthday gift anybody could have given me.
Yep, absolutely. And it didn't really cost anything.
Right. And the other thing is for her to recognize that is really important. I mean, you don't think about, teens or kids, but I promise kids know when you are in a depressed mood. I know when my sister was having one of her worst bouts and she could not go to work. And my daughter was young then. She was about 5 or 6, and she was walking with her aunt, and they were just walking around the block because my sister couldn't walk by herself. She just could not mentally pull up that energy. And my little 6-year-old daughter said, Aunt Barbara, when is this all going to be over? When are you going to be back to yourself again? And so kids notice.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, and they know you're not yourself. So for me, I when I realized that I couldn't respond, and this should have been one of the happiest days, my birthday and Thanksgiving. And really my birthday is because people just kind of surprise me with their presents. I mean, their personal attendance. We do that every year. But anyway, I started with my regular doctor that I see for physicals, just to take blood pressure and cholesterol and all that stuff. And then when she said, okay, is everything okay? And I said, no, it's not okay, for the first time. She's always so glad to see me because, oh my gosh, you are completely blind. You got this guide dog. You get into the building, you get on the elevator, you come up here, you sign in, you sit, you go to the scale. I mean, she's just blown away that how a blind person can do all this stuff. And so I said, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And that took her back as my doctor. I mean, I was kind of afraid to tell her because she's got this opinion, that the general population has an opinion that you're a superpower or you're just, like I said, in the corner. There's no in between. And my doctor thought I was a superpower. So she goes, oh, well, what is it? And I said, I am just totally detached. That's all I can say. I said, my glass, and that's when I came up with that analogy because I really wanted her to find a way to help me. And my analogy to her was, I'm the person that always has this full glass of cool water. And no matter who comes, there's always a sip of water for them. Some of them need a half a glass. They need a big gulp. And some of them need to drain my glass, to the bottom because they need so much of this cool water that I have. And then I just go and refill it again. I take a little time. I go refill my glass again, and I'm ready for whoever comes by or calls or messages me that needs that sip of water, some strength, some stability, some listening, some, emoting. And she said, oh, and I said, I'm empty. I'm empty. My glass is empty. It's been empty. And I don't know how to get the water back in. She said, well, I do. I'm going to refer you to a therapist. And that's how that started. And then I said, my problem, once again, here's a problem that for anybody that's going through depression is there's just one more hurdle that you have to overcome. Then therapy, you tend not to go because especially with us in the visually impaired community, mobility, getting to somewhere where I live is not a big city. So where I live, there's no public transportation, and the therapists are all in the next town. So it's a good 25-minute drive. So you can't take a cab or an Uber. You can't afford that. And I'd never been to therapy. So, that was a first for me. And she said, no, I'll fix it. I'll order in the prescription that it must be virtual. So I thought, that's great. I don't have to do that. That's one hurdle I don't have to overcome. And the next thing you know, I'm registering with a therapist. I'm getting online. And since that time, I have been in regular talk therapy with both a psychiatrist who does medication checks. They put me on medicine, and I'm not afraid to say that I'm on an antidepressant, and and I have been on an antidepressant periodically throughout my adulthood, but I've always been able to come off of it and then function normally. So she put me on an antidepressant, the psychiatrist did, and then I got assigned to a therapist, and we talk every single week or every other week virtually, and it is not the same as being in the room with them, but I guarantee you it's so much better than arranging transportation. Once again, feeling like a burden that you got to get your spouse or your neighbor or your adult child to take off of work, to take you to your, I can get on the computer and do the therapy myself. I can schedule it myself, whatever's convenient for me. Sometimes it's been 8 o'clock at night and sometimes it's been 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's good all around. And the very fact that I'm here talking about it shows you I'm sitting here as a physical example of getting depression addressed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone needs to hear your story, Beverly, because it's inspiring. It's an inspiring lesson. I remember you talking about that when you were in that state, that when you were with your granddaughter on your birthday, you physically, I understand that you could not physically do it. In your mind, you wanted to put it into words and put it onto the phone.
Yes.
But you physically could not do it. You were not making that mental, a physical body connection. And it is very interesting that we're talking about this today, especially now with the Olympics going on. And if you've been following the Olympics at all, Simone Biles is having the problems with the twisties. Now, twisties is a mental body connection problem, along with awareness of where your body is in the air. Yes. And it can be very, very dangerous, and you can seriously cripple yourself.
Right.
There's a story out there. I can't remember. There was a gymnast in the eastern, one of the eastern countries. I can't remember the year, but I heard that she was having those problems, and the coaches didn't want to listen to her.
That's right.
And she mentioned to her coaches before she did I think it was the parallel bar, and she said to herself after the interview, she sure is gonna. She believed in her head that she's gonna break her neck, and
yes.
she needs to stop. And they ignored her and forced her. And when she went to do it, she landed on her jaw and became paralyzed.
Is that again point on.
So whether it's sports, in baseball they call it the yips. There've been very famous pitchers that all of a sudden they lose accuracy of the ball with no explanation at all.
Yes.
So that mental and physical connection is very important, and you always need to be aware, especially for those that are legally blind. We need that connection, definitely.
That is so true, Paul, because one of the things that I have talked to my therapist about, and she is not well versed in blindness. I mean, I'm the first blind patient she's had, and one of the things that I explained to her is that when you don't have your sense of sight and you rely on everything else, the very first thing you have to be is mindful. You must be at your best every step you take, because the next step might be off a cliff.
Yeah.
You have to be. Yes.
Yeah, you bump your leg. I bump my legs all the time. I got all kinds of scuff marks on my shins.
Yes.
That darn dishwasher bites me in the butt all the time.
Oh, I've fallen into the dishwasher before. So yeah. I mean, I tripped over it. It's a miracle it didn't tear the door off, but I fell into the dishwasher. So,
well, you know, it's just amazing because I've been on both sides of the fence.
Yes.
And I've noticed that it just takes tremendous concentration. And then when I get laxed, that's when I have my problems.
You're so right. And
because I had the vision before. So
yes.
that little bit, that vision I had before, I didn't need to concentrate as much because I had full vision or pretty good vision. I wouldn't say full, but now
vision,
I have to rely on, I have to really rely on my cognitiveness and awareness and where I'm at and where am I going and what am I doing? Sometimes I even forget what the heck I'm doing.
Exactly. That's the mindfulness. And we don't have, I call it a luxury to zone out. Yeah. I mean, I used to love to walk just for exercise when I could see.
Yeah.
And, and I would just zone out. And next thing you know, I've gone 3 miles. And I didn't even know it because I've zoned out. You cannot do that walking, not even with a guide dog. So you just can't, you have to be mindful. And so I thought about that while I was on my walks, Paul. That's really interesting because one of the things that goes through my head in a positive way as I'm walking and I can't see my scenery, I love feeling the sun. I love listening to birds. I love even hearing traffic go by. But I also say to myself, I guarantee you, I'm probably the only person in a 10-block vicinity that is completely mindful right now.
Yeah.
And so it helps you practice that. And being mindful is a combatant to depression. So that's a win-win. Yes, you don't have the sensory input, which could definitely affect your emotional and mental mood. But on the other hand, practicing mindfulness, being in the here and now, right now, with whoever you're with, or if you're by yourself, is an excellent way to go through life.
Well, there's a lot of people that meditate that way. They do.
That's right.
They do that 3, 4, 5 times a day, and they're not impaired at all. They're trying to live in the moment.
That's right. And blindness kind of makes you,
yes,
unless you're holding on to someone's arm and your whole purpose. And I've done this before with my husband. I just say, look, I'm just gonna hang on because I don't want to think about anything right now. So then he says, okay, we're coming up on a step. Okay, we're coming in the door. I don't have to think about anything. But I would say the majority of severely visually impaired people don't have the ability to go from point A to point B out in La La Land.
Right.
They have to know where they're going.
Yes.
And I can tell you, I do have stories where I walked off my front porch. I mean, my front porch is elevated 4 feet off the ground. Mm-hmm. And I'm just out there, la, 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 inland, and this is before I got Gretchen. And it was right after I started using my white cane. So it was in that time where I was used to my vision being there for me. And it wasn't, and I wasn't paying attention. And I walked just full speed ahead, straight off my front porch into the shrubbery.
Oh
my God.
Yeah. I've done that too. But I was filming. I was filming fireworks in the neighborhood, and I was going from the front of the house to the back of the house and back and forth and trying to do all kinds of stuff. And I have a front porch, and I thought I was at the stairs.
Yes.
And it was not the stairs. And I went right into the bushes. And
okay.
Thank God I had something to grab. I had one of those decorative poles that you hammer in the ground and you can hang baskets on.
Yes.
That was there, and I grabbed that.
Luckily, it didn't impale you.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You put the words in my mouth. I'm lucky that I didn't get impaled. So it's a funny story, but again, that's another lesson of awareness. You know, you start getting in your comfort zone, especially they say most accidents happen for even sighted people. Most car accidents happen within a 2-mile radius of your home.
Yes.
You know, you get into that autopilot.
That familiar place.
And when you start getting comfortable, that's when you need to start paying attention. That's a sign to tell you, wait a minute, let me take 5 minutes and think about this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So but you know, hindsight's 20/20, right?
That's right. That's
so,
right.
it's you know, easier said than done, but you know, we just need to encourage each other and push forward and help each other and learn from each other, from our journeys and our experiences. And I'm so happy that you came to share your story, and I know that this is very personal, but I really appreciate you doing it anyways, and pushing through, and you know, hopefully somebody will learn something from this.
Yes, I don't often share out that I've been dealing with depression and anxiety for most of my life since age 17. And at age 17, they actually gave me a choice. They said, do you want, because I was having problems in the boarding school and acting out, pushing, kicking and screaming and crying, like inside of a closet or inside of a public bathroom. And so they gave me the choice. They said, do you want to go live with your dad and just be a day student at the private school? Do you want to go up and live with your mother, or do you want to go to a mental hospital? And I chose the mental hospital because I felt like something was wrong with me.
Wow.
And it did help me. But through my whole life, I've been having therapy off and on and dealing with depression and anxiety for all my life since age 17. Wow. And I don't often share that. I never share that mental health story except the thing about being in a mental hospital. I've only shared that once before a few weeks ago, and now I decided I'll share that again right now.
That is amazing, Diana, because that's what people need to hear. We all are different levels, and we have different ways to cope with it. And I can only imagine being 17 and saying, no, I want to be with somebody that can help me.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I want to be with somebody that can help me. So at that point, if the choice was the mental hospital, then that was the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Especially when you're in a state where you can't make a physical task. You're not making that connection, and it's just
right.
You just fade away, and you have to reach out and get help.
Right. And we know that about depression. So anybody that is really, and I call it suffering from depression. I do see on reports people say, oh, this individual is suffering from blindness. And I think to myself, no, that's not most of the people that I have ever met don't suffer with blindness. We get frustrated sometimes, but we're not suffering. We don't have pain. I can just imagine having chronic pain.
Yes, yeah.
That's suffering. But blindness is very frustrating. But people that do suffer, because I think there's some suffering with
yeah, I don't think I would trade places with my girl Lisa. She lives with chronic pain every day.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I see and experience this with her every day, because we live together.
Yes.
She I wouldn't trade at all.
And it is, you have to think about that, and that's not to minimize the struggles that we do go through because of sight loss. That's not to minimize that at all. Yeah. But at least, and I've always said to people, well, at least I'm not in any pain at all. Yeah. And I usually, when I was a kid, I would do a backflip for them. So I say, look, see, ride my bicycle with no hands, Mom. Look, no hands, I'm riding. Those kinds of things, and having fun. And I was still legally blind. But it's a hard thing for people to understand that when you get to a point that you are pretty depressed, it might be that you need a best friend, a neighbor, an advocate, a parent, a sibling, a child, a spouse to pick up the phone for you and call a doctor and say, you know, I need to set up an appointment for my sister. And I'll be coming in with her. She's really not with it right now. And she's just not feeling herself. And I'm thinking it might be depression. So it's not one of those things where you should say, well, I should just suck it up and make all the phone calls myself, and that'll prove that I'm doing good. And because a person that gets to the point where I was, you know, I told my doctor because I trusted her and I knew she would handle it. I knew she would take care of it. But had I not had that appointment with her, I probably would have had somebody close to me call and just find somebody, please, that can help me.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. That's kind of what you really should do. Is ask someone to assist you and just getting involved in the process.
You know, I learned at a very, very young age. I've been blessed with wonderful parents, and my mother especially. I'm a mama's boy. I'll say that 100%. I was spoiled. The stories I used to tell Lisa how my childhood was. She's like, "What did you live in Disneyland?" I mean, yeah. I mean, I was spoiled. So my mom.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And
it's a good thing.
My mother taught me early in life was whenever I would complain or grumble, she would always tell me, "Don't you grumble. Don't you grumble, because there's always somebody worse off than you." So yes. you need to be grateful, not grumble. and that's just stuck with me ever since I was a little kid. And I'm not perfect. I still grumble. Lisa will attest to that. but I'm getting better, Mom. I'm getting better, Mom. Rest in peace. She's up in heaven now. But you know, it's so very true. And getting to gratitude. That I noticed that you were saying that you were waking up the day miserable instead of feeling gratitude.
Right.
And gratitude goes a long way. And I'm so glad that you recognized that and knew that something was wrong, because if you had ignored it, you wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And you need to get that gratitude back, because I'm telling you, just be grateful when you wake up in the morning, and just recognize and be aware of everything around you and what you have.
Yes.
And be grateful for it. And it just changes your mood and the energy around you. And suddenly you start having very good luck, or you start having a wonderful day instead of a bad day.
Right.
And then there's things that work out that you worried so much about, and you think to yourself, why did I have those thoughts and worry about all these things when everything worked out anyways, you know? So you have to have gratitude, and your heart will, you know, be much fonder. So
you're absolutely right.
It opens your heart.
Right.
Gratitude opens your heart to love, to more love and things like that.
It does. And I can honestly say, you know, it's another component of being visually impaired is there are a lot of times that we feel useless to those around us. And we think, oh, if I could just see, I could go do that for that person. I don't have to sit by, you know, I would love to go deliver a meal to my sick aunt across town. Yeah. And, you know, I would love to be able to do that. So somewhere in my heart, I have to find, what is my gift and how can I use that without, despite not being able to see. There's definitely, and I found my place in that. I'm kind of, and this is just me now because where I am in life, I'm older than most everybody that I know on YouTube or, social media. But I'm like the central grandmother figure in my circle of people and even friends. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come to me for job referral letters, and they want me to write them for them, referring them to a job. And then next thing you know, they've got the job. So it's my job, I see, is to help others that way. And when I wasn't being of benefit to those people around me in a supportive way, that's when I knew that I'm not doing what my God-given gifts are. I'm not able to do that. When depression interferes with that, sight loss or not, when depression interferes with that, it's time to get help, or either, get help to find what your gifts are. Some people haven't found that yet, and that's okay. But it's hard to find it if you're in the middle of depression.
Diana, do you want to take a little break and see if we can respond to anybody in the chat?
Okay.
We've been kind of ignoring everyone in the chat.
Oh yes, I've been typing to people, but not talking out loud. But we have Diana Brianne Fairchild, who just made the last comment saying, yes, we also have to respect our limitations so that we can excel at what we are able to do.
Yes. So true.
Things can happen and our lives change. I know I had a scary issue going to the ER this past week. I am fine now, but it woke me up.
Yep.
Yes.
And then we have Lisa B in here, who's helping. That's Paul's girlfriend. She's a moderator. She helps out, and let's see. And then hello Warren Floyd, and hello Blind Guy, his wife, their life. That's the name of his channel. He's been making quite a few different comments in here. Jordan Mahoney, the Blind World, is here.
Well, hey Jordan.
Oh yeah, so Blind Guy, his wife, and their life says, this is great to hear everyone's stories, perspectives, and solutions. And Jordan Mahoney, the Blind World, says, yes, he agrees that he does not suffer with his visual impairment or blindness or his autism. If anything, he's breaking down barriers with them.
Absolutely. Go Jordan.
And then we have the Blind Guy show in here, and he said he recently was struggling with depression, and that it was either him or somebody else said that taking vitamin D is helpful.
There's a lot of people saying that I'm right.
Blind Neil, hi Blind Neil.
With me.
Oh, stop it.
Blind Neil made a joke about when you guys were talking about bumping into things. He says, my nickname is Ricochet because I'm always bouncing off stuff.
That's great.
Oh, that's a cool nickname.
It is.
That's a cool nickname,
Baby JY Art with a pen was in. I don't know if he's still in here. And let's see, the Junking Data Girl. She's an old friend of mine. I've known her since the very first month I started on YouTube, which was 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
The Junking Data Girl. Thank you. I haven't seen her that often, but nice that you were in here, popped in here.
Awesome.
And I'm scrolling up. The Crafty Crochet and Bible with Angela was in here earlier. I don't know. She has not made any comments recently. And still, hold on. And then we had Little Toddler and Kayla, but they were here very early, and I don't think they made no comments since then. I don't know if they're still in here. So I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I missed somebody, say hello again. I have a disability.
The Blind Guy said something about vitamin D. He says that somebody else must have said it, but he says that's true with vitamin D being beneficial for depression. It helps with diabetes too.
Uh-huh. Well, I know for me, I have been on a regimen of super vitamins for 20 years. Mm-hmm. So that's a long time. And when I look back over, and you have to report to your doctor all the over-the-counter stuff you take. And I take omega-3s, I take vitamin D at my doctor's advice, thousands of units of it. And I take multivitamins that do not have vitamin A because I have Stargardt's disease, and you can't take vitamin A with Stargardt's. So you have to find the correct vitamin that doesn't give you vitamin A. And I take, so I do the vitamins, and I'm very conscientious about that, and eating properly and getting the proper rest. I have problems with sleep and depression go hand in hand. Sleep disorders and depression go hand in hand. But I've always had a problem with sleep, insomnia.
Yes.
Yeah. When I had the total, when I went blind, when I had that my eye surgery and then had troubles, there was an 8-week period of time that I was in total darkness.
Yes, I remember hearing that on one of your videos.
And that was something else. That was scary. And I got some of it back, but it's so very little that I under the legally blind category. And just for educational purpose for everyone out there in the chat, and also anybody watching on the replay, sighted or not sighted, legally blind is defined as acuity at 20 over 200 and or visual field of less than 10 degrees.
20 degrees.
Oh, is it 20? Okay.
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Which is not much still.
No.
20.
No, it isn't. And I fall under both categories.
Really?
Yeah, but at least I can still see the sunrise and sunset.
Right.
And hear the birds. So, Mom, I'm not grumbling.
Hey, and 2200, I remember having that most of my life till I was about 30. My vision was 2200, and it was quite adequate to move around. Like I said, I was an invisible disability.
Yeah.
That's what I consider I have, invisible, because I don't have mobility issues. Everything, all my problems are the reading, and of course I don't drive, but walking around. So I have an invisible disability that I continued to work 15 years in a public school for 15 years past my diagnosis with highly functional low vision.
Yes. And it is. That's a very frustrating. I think what Paul was saying a while ago is you get fatigued. That's a fatiguing situation because you never know. It's like coming out. You never know, when should I disclose that I can't see? Who do I disclose it to? In what setting? And then for me, and you're probably like this too, Diana, you can't, I'll have people anticipate, well, okay, we're going here. Do you think you can see that? And I said, I have no clue, until I get there and experience it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I can see or can't see. And that happened a lot, because if somebody said, oh, I'll meet you at the theater. Well, no, you're not, because I'll never find you in the darkened theater. I won't do that. But if I walked outside in the sunlight, I would find you fine. It was just, and how do you explain that to people? It's so hard to explain.
Oh, to explain to people how I can see some things and can't see others is so I don't even understand it myself.
Exactly.
It's different every day.
It is.
It's different with different people.
It is. And sometimes now, you know that I can't see, but I will go out on my back driveway, which is kind of the back of my house, and I'll let Gretchen do her business, my guide dog. And I promise you, from 30 feet away, I can see the steps, because I can see horizontal lines. I've got 6 steps going up, and I can see those from 30 feet away. But that's like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sun is hitting those steps and the shadows are just perfect, and I can't see anything leading up to those stairs, and I can't see anything beyond those stairs. So, you know, and it shocks me that I can see them.
But you know, later on or earlier in the day, when the sun's on the other side of the house, you can't see them.
Exactly, they're not even there.
You know, when I struggle, like the best light for me is outside.
Yes,
the natural sunlight is the best thing for me to see.
Mine too, Paul.
However, you know, sometimes it's too bright. You know, it all depends on how the clouds are, right? You know, is it overcast? Is it no cloud in the sky? Or is it that hazy light? There's all these different factors that come into play. But I could be out on a bright sunny day in my backyard and walk under a tree. Just that shade from the tree is almost like twilight for me.
Absolutely.
And then I can pop right out of that shade and it's bright again.
Yes.
But if I want to see anything, obviously if I stand under the tree and look at the horizon, you know, I'll be able to see the horizon.
Yes.
Anything around that tree at my feet, I cannot see.
It's gone. Yes.
It's gone.
Yep.
How do you explain something like that? You know,
it's just hard.
It's like Diana said, that sometimes you just don't even know yourself.
Yeah. Some people I say, you know, well, when I find out myself, I'll let you know, because I don't know.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's usually like my videos. I sit down in front of the camera before I push record, and I say, gosh, I wonder what I'm going to say today.
Well, incidentally, I went to your channel, Beverly, and copied your link to that one video of you explaining what you did today. And I put it in the chat so that people have a reference to go to.
Thank you, Paul.
And then they can please check out BAMA Blind's channel. She's got some wonderful tutorial videos out there, and just, you know, plain just knowledge. She has a lot of fun videos where she did words of vocabulary. Those were a lot of fun, how to put certain words I've never heard in my life.
Yeah, but you made that delicious viscous sauce.
Yes, the delicious viscous sauce. So please check her channel out. You won't regret it.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
You're very welcome. Does anybody have any questions for Beverly while she's up on panel?
Yes, please ask
Lisa has a question.
Comments.
Just put it in the comments below, and then we will try our best to address it. But Lisa has a question.
Okay.
So were you able to get Gretchen back on track again?
We're working on it. That's a very good question, Lisa, because I actually saw a difference when I got more and more into myself and my mindful self and being more in tune with myself. Then I realized, hey, most of this problem is me, because I have to be completely mindful of her. Yeah. And so the moment she does something that is really good, like finds the doorknob to the store that I'm going into, the moment she does that, not looking at it in hindsight, but the moment she does that, I have to be completely aware of what she's doing and then praise her for that. And
Absolutely.
the trainers at Seeing Eye did a nice seminar because many dogs are stressed out right now. Yeah. And they explained that you might have to get back out there with your clicker, which is your training tool, and a high value reward. And so for Gretchen, she had her high value reward, but she just got a gift in the mail about 3 days ago, and that video is going to come up tomorrow. You'll see her reaction, and I can't wait to go with her outside and do some more obedience training with her with this high value reward, because we really had lost some skills.
Yeah, it's very important. And then sometimes these dogs just check out.
Absolutely, just like people do.
Yeah, they just check out and they're just a regular dog,
Oh, yes.
From blind guy, his wife, their life, and it's not really blind guy. The blind guy is her husband, and he's not there right now, but she says he'll watch the replay later. But it's his wife that's watching this, and she says she'd like to know if Beverly is getting another dog. I think we were just talking, not that you're not, right?
I'm not at this point. I think I'm too stubborn. Gretchen is highly intelligent. And if I don't give her the chance with me, and she can't help it that I was depressed.
Yeah.
And
no,
so
and
I don't.
Some of that had to do with you. A lot of people think that guide dogs guide you. You actually guide the dog. You need to know your surroundings, and you need to know if you need to go left or right or straight.
Yes.
You have to give the dog some guidance. And if you're off, the dog's going to be off.
Exactly. And that's the part about the mindfulness, that you have to each step, understanding I'm just in this step. I'm not way up there 2 blocks away going into the coffee shop, anticipating who I'm going to see in there. That's another frustration, another anxiety provoking situation to get in a line and do all that. But I don't need to be focusing on that while we're at a street corner 2 blocks away. We need to focus on the street corner right here and now. And it would be Gretchen is so intelligent. I do take her places, and she baffles me with what she is able to do just with verbal commands. So she'll be 6 in November. Now that's an older dog, but it's middle-aged. And I've had her, it will be 4 years in November that I've had her. So usually the average is, I think, from 6 to 12 years. And I know a lot of guide dog users that say, oh, well, my dog's pulling too much, meaning that they're too aggressive and they're pulling their shoulder out too much. Well, that means that the dog is really excited. And within 2 years, they'll say, okay, I don't want this dog anymore. I need another dog. I know many people that have gone through 6 or 7 dogs in a couple of years, and that's to me unfair.
I think like in Joy Ross's case, Arabella checked out.
Oh, yes.
And she didn't give up on the dog. She had the dog evaluated, and they, tried, and they just knew. I think it was Guide Dogs for the Blind in Oregon. They knew that she was done.
Right, and they take the harness away.
And they take the harness away, which broke her heart because she wanted to keep it, but they take the harness away, and then the dog's just a regular dog.
Right.
Right now, she's just using a cane. I don't know what her plans are for the future, but right now, she doesn't have one. And it's not like they can just grind one out right away. It's not like going to Walmart and buy a dog or something. It takes time to train these animals and then finding the right fit. So it takes a while to replace a dog. So just to say, oh, I'm giving up on this dog, I don't want to do the necessary training, then you shouldn't have had the dog in the first place.
Right. And I got Gretchen at the Seeing Eye in New Jersey. And it's a 3.5-week program. So, you know, I fly up there by myself with a cane, and I came back with a dog, and you learn to be independent really quickly if you're not already that independent. But the seeing eye, that's one of the differences. It's one of the only schools that once you graduate, the dog is yours. You own it. The seeing eye does not own it. Right. Now I can call them to come to send a trainer down here to work with me. And I've called the trainer several times, and we've been able to work out our issues over the phone. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't hesitate if Gretchen right now said, no, I'm not going to obey any of your commands, I'm just going to be a dog, then I'd be calling a trainer to fly down here, and they would walk with me around my town and evaluate her.
Absolutely.
And then they would say, okay, you really don't need to be relying on her anymore. But that's as far as they go. They don't take away the harness. They don't own her. So they advise me at that point not to use her as a guide dog because it's not safe.
Right. Okay. See, we're learning something new every day.
Oh, every day. If we're not learning now, y'all, can I add one other thing? When I started coming out of my fog, I thought something had happened in the opposite direction, because I cannot stop reading and learning. Something has happened that everything I pick up, I want to read about and learn about. I mean, up until midnight last night, I was learning about my family ancestry. I just can't. It was like, wow.
And you have a very interesting family history.
Hey.
Go to BAMA Blind's channel. She's got a few videos on that. Very interesting story about your family.
I just found out last night that I'm actually traced back to 1625 in Massachusetts.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
And it's just very interesting that almost every generation there is somebody that was in the military.
Yes, absolutely. If there was a war, and humans are always in war, so.
And they were in, like, you can trace back almost every war.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, back to the Revolution, and
all the way back to the Revolutionary
I hadn't had a chance because, like I said, I just found out the 1625 last night.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that's good that you're doing that. When you were having your depression, I'm sure that the reading and the desire to learn kind of diminished.
I will tell you that was one of the interesting things too, Paul, is that my experience with depression, I think it's different for everybody, and there's some similarities too with people, but being blind and being depressed, the one thing I was capable of doing is listening to audiobooks. And that was it. And I thought to myself, at least I'm taking in, it's either entertainment or information or a mixture of both, but I'm doing something, and it's not really constructive. And then my therapist said, that is very constructive, that listening to audiobooks, let's say you were paralyzed from your neck down, and you can't brush your teeth and you can't dress yourself and you can't feed yourself, you certainly could listen to audiobooks. So she said, please don't minimize that activity. And for me, it was a non-productive waste of time, but right. I could do it, and it was something to do in my fog. And I just wanted to share that if you think that that's not productive, then you might want to think again, because it is productive.
That's a good sign to be aware of. If you're not learning something new every day, something's wrong.
That's right. Hey, I learned where new doorways are every day.
Absolutely. Doorways and dishwashers. Oh.
Yes. And my granddaughter will say, I'll just run flat into the wall next to the door, And she'll say, "Bibi, what happened?" And I said, "Well, I saw 3 or 4 doors. I just took the wrong one."
I get.
How are we doing, Diana?
We don't have any more questions.
Yeah, I didn't see any either.
But I'm interested in Warren. He got his eyes fixed.
Yes. Wait. What was Warren? Is that cataracts or what was? How is it that you? What was that? What do you mean you got your eyes fixed?
He said he can see really good now.
Oh, he must have had a.
He only had 25% vision and was still riding his motorcycle to work every day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you were bad. Wow,
boy.
25%, huh?
Let's see. Recently had my eyes fixed. Awesome to be able to see well. My wish is to see anyone who has vision problems to be cured. God bless you all. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
You know, that's a whole nother subject there that people talk about.
It is.
A very common question for the blind. If there was a miracle cure, would you want to have eyesight? Or do you want
I had normal.
You're at?
I had completely normal vision up until my late 30s, early 40s, because I was born with this genetic, hereditary, extremely rare retinal disease. I was born with it, but I have that mostly shows up in childhood. But I had the more rare kind that it didn't show up until later in life, in my early 40s. So I didn't even wear glasses except for driving in my 30s, and completely normal vision. And then, so since I know I've been on both sides of the fence, and if you could, yes, I would want it. I would want it cured if it could be. Yeah.
I would too. And I've never been like you. So I would too, because it would open up a whole different challenging world for me. And I'm always up for challenges.
I'm kind of like on both sides of the fence. It was very traumatic what happened to me mentally and physically and emotionally. It's been now 4.5, almost 5 years. I've adjusted, and now I'm in this zone where I have adjusted, and it took tremendous strength and perseverance and attitude to get through that. And then now to all of a sudden have perfect vision, I know I'll probably go through all those problems again, going back the other way.
Well, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. I think of it as, and I've told many eye doctors, if you told me that there was actually a treatment for me, I would get in line. I would be patient, because I have been, all my life. I've been told for 30 years, oh, just a couple of years from now, they're going to have a treatment for you. So I've been told that by, visual specialists, but it's not happened. But I'm the perfect candidate, because if it didn't, if I went in and they did some whatever treatment it was and it didn't work, so be it. Yeah. I'm not counting on that anyway. So I'm kind of like you, Paul. I'm fine where I am. If I could see, it really would be a different world. And I'm not saying it would be a better world. I'm just saying it'd be different. It'd be a challenge.
Yes. Well, you say you like those challenges, so
yes. When I have appropriate treatment for depression, I do like the challenges. Yes.
I mean, if push came to shove, I would, I would go for the cure. But I'm not anticipating
Me either. Yes.
the change. You know?
I'm there with you. Yes.
And we have an answer. We have a comment to that question from Blind Guy. His wife is answering for him. My husband had normal vision until a sudden illness at age 19. He wants his vision back even after 25 years, but he's not into exploratory treatments. He only wants a guaranteed treatment.
Right. There is no guarantees.
Yeah.
I learned that. Look what happened to me. I have glaucoma. I've been diagnosed ever since I was 3 months old. So I've dealt with this disease all my life. And I just went in at age 52 for some routine surgery to get the eye pressure under control.
Yes.
And I even researched it and looked it up, and it's just a 2% risk of things going wrong, and I was the 2%. So there's no guarantees.
That is exactly right.
There's no, matter of fact, I don't think there's any guarantees in life, period. Death and taxes, I guess.
Yeah. Death and taxes.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you guys, and I so appreciate really the opportunity to talk about mental health, because
yes. When I heard that story, I reached out to you right away.
Yes, you did. And
I go. This would be a good topic to talk about. And Beverly, you're such a wonderful guest, and just the way that you talk and everything, it's just wonderful.
Well, thank you,
wonderful.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate.
We appreciate you being here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I can hang around if y'all are going to chit chat or close out or whatever.
Well, it looks like there's not much going on, and we only got 3 people in the chat now. So I don't know if you want to hang it up, Diana. Do any final thoughts, or it's totally up.
I really appreciate Beverly and how she told her story, and it's really wonderful to listen to her. And
thank you, Diana.
And inspiration. I think maybe I'm gonna on my channel. Maybe I'm gonna start talking more about mental health, because it's been a lifelong thing with me that I rarely ever talk about. Maybe I'm gonna start talking about that more on my channel.
That might be very good, and you'd be surprised how many views you will get just from that.
Yes. And if I can liken it to, it's because I've been around for so long. Back in the 60s, when I started school, you were not allowed to talk about visual impairments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the fact that we freely now talk about our visual impairments, and we don't think a thing about answering all kinds of questions and discussing it and telling people if we need to. Even, when I truly needed help, I could not express that in a society 50 years ago. And so we've come a pretty good ways from not discussing it. I just finished a good book on FDR, and I always thought that he could walk, and he was really completely paralyzed.
Yes.
But he wasn't allowed to be president if they knew that he absolutely needed a wheelchair. And I'm thinking that's just ludicrous.
Yes.
So as a society, we're now at the point where we can now talk about mental health, and we can say we can be a productive citizen and very trustworthy and intelligent and all that stuff, and still have mental health issues.
It happens to everybody.
Yes.
You're not a.
I'm an example of that. Dealing with that my whole life and still being productive.
I mean, even professional athletes have mental problems.
Perfect example. Yep. With the Olympics.
The Olympics. Yep. And even in baseball, some great pitchers just.
And you don't have to tell me. My husband watches the Yankees every Sunday, and oh my God, do I hear about the pitching? Guy doesn't have his stuff, and the Yankees end up losing in the 9th inning, and give up 10 runs.
I know somebody that I follow on YouTube. When he was in college, he played JV ball, and he was a pitcher. And he was pitching an excellent game. And the first 4 innings, nobody got on base. So he didn't have to be aware of somebody on base while he's pitching.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a stretch, he's doing the windup or vice versa. And so he's doing this one thing over and over for 4 straight innings. Then all of a sudden he's got one person on base, and then he wanted to cut. He's ready to pitch, but then turn. You know how they do that turn, and then they throw the ball to the base to try to throw the guy out at first.
Right.
And it's the first throw to the base for 4 innings.
Yes. So the guy.
So his mind got into that zone, and then when his mind told his body to turn and throw the ball, when he turned, the ball didn't. It just it didn't even make 10 feet.
Wow.
And just that mental mind connection.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a good example.
So if you're perfectly healthy and your brain gets into a routine like that, and all of a sudden you got to switch up, and sometimes that messes you up. Imagine if you don't take care of yourself.
That's
and things progress. You might be getting into a rabbit hole that you can't get out of. So
I agree, Paul.
You got to be very aware. So that's my closing thoughts.
Very good ones. Yes. Very good closing thoughts.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Beverly and Paul and everybody who visited today in the chat. And
thank y'all.
And don't forget to get us. Next month is the first Sunday of September.
Yes, we do this the first Sunday of every month at 12 noon p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A YouTube blind community discussion, and we invite people up on the panel as well. And okay, it'll be September. I have to look it up. September.
September. First Sunday in September.
It's going to be September 5th.
Okay, September 5th.
All right.
So be there or be square.
That's right. That's a heads up. Do it. Thank you, hosts, very much.
Thank you again. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We will see you guys next month.
And thank you, Lisa, for helping.
You're welcome. Good to see you, Beverly.
Good to see you too, Lisa.
All right, you guys take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.